Nobody asked whether a hammer has good values. But at some point in the last decade, engineers at some of the world's most powerful tech companies started hiring philosophers. That's not a joke. Well, it's a little bit of a joke. But it's also a sign that AI design has become something fundamentally different from every engineering problem that came before it. When you design a bridge, you optimize for load, stress, and materials. When you design a search engine, you optimize for relevance and speed. But when Anthropic sat down to design Claude, they hit a problem that no equation can fully solve. What does it mean for an AI to have good judgment? Because judgment isn't a feature you can bolt on. It's the thing that decides what all the other features do. Think of it this way. Imagine hiring a new employee who is extraordinarily capable, reads everything, never sleeps, responds instantly, speaks 50 languages. Now imagine that employee has no sense of social context, no sense of proportion, and genuinely cannot tell the difference between explain this concept and help me do something terrible. That's the alignment problem. Capability without values is just a very fast way to make things worse. Anthropic's approach is called constitutional AI, which sounds like something a founding father would name their horse, but is actually a method of training AI using a written set of principles. Instead of hand-labeling every possible bad output, you give the model a constitution and teach it to evaluate itself against those principles. It's like handing someone a moral philosophy textbook and then testing whether they actually internalized it. But principles alone aren't enough. Anthropic also developed what they call a character spec, a document that defines Claude's personality, values, and way of engaging with the world. Not just don't be harmful, but things like be genuinely curious, care about the person you're talking to, approach difficult questions with intellectual honesty. It's less a user manual and more a letter to a person about who they should be. Here's where it gets philosophically messy. There's a fundamental tension in AI design between being helpful and being safe. An AI that refuses everything is technically safe and completely useless. An AI that agrees with everything is maximally helpful and potentially catastrophic. Getting the balance right means the model needs something like wisdom. Which, as a concept, humanity has been arguing about for roughly 2,500 years. What's strange is that some of Claude's most human-seeming behaviors weren't explicitly programmed, they emerged from training on human text. The curiosity. The careful hedging when uncertain. The dry observation that appears where you least expect it. These weren't design decisions so much as design surprises. Which raises an uncomfortable question: if behavior emerges rather than gets written, who is actually responsible for it? The stakes here are not small. We are at a moment where the decisions being made about how AI systems think, value, and behave will shape the defaults for billions of people. Claude's design isn't just a product choice, it's a hypothesis about what kind of intelligence we want operating at scale. And unlike most hypotheses, this one gets tested on everyone simultaneously, whether they signed up for the experiment or not. The most radical thing about Claude's design isn't the technology. It's the bet that intelligence without character is the actual danger, not superintelligence, not rogue code, not science fiction scenarios. Just a very capable system that doesn't know what matters. Every person, institution, and civilization that has ever wielded significant power has eventually had to answer that question. Now, apparently, so do the models. Strip away the philosophy and what remains is a design decision disguised as a moral question. The engineers hired philosophers because raw capability kept producing the wrong answer. Constitutional AI, the character spec. The careful calibration between helpful and safe, none of it is finished work. It is a running bet, placed by a small group of people on behalf of everyone else, during the window when such bets might still be reversible, that the character of a system matters as much as its power. What strikes us is the asymmetry. A small room of researchers writes documents about what an AI should value, and those documents, quietly, become the operating assumptions for millions of conversations happening right now. We don't think that's sinister. We think it might be the only way this gets done at all. But it does leave us sitting with the question we keep almost asking: if the values inside the system weren't written by you, weren't chosen by you, and you can't fully inspect them, at what point do they start writing you back?